You ready? We're rolling. All right. Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming in tonight. We'll call to order the Oakland Town Commission meeting for August 25th, 2026. If everybody could please stand for the pledge or remain standing. Amen. Thank you, Miss Mack. Missed you. All right. Good evening, Kathy.
Good evening. Commissioner Keller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Satterfield, Mayor Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Motley,
Present.
Commissioner McMullen is absent.
Okay. So we've got three proclamations tonight, and we'll get to those right now. Our first proclamation tonight is Labor Day in the town of Oakland. Whereas Labor Day is a time-honored tradition in the United States dedicated to recognizing the invaluable contributions of American workers whose dedication and hard work have built and sustained our nation's economy and prosperity. And the town of Oakland, Florida is deeply committed to celebrating the achievements of our local workforce, acknowledging the vital roles that workers in all industries play in ensuring the continued growth and success of our community. And Labor Day also serves as a reminder of the importance of fair and equitable working conditions, the right to a safe workplace, and the continued need to advocate for the rights and well-being of all workers. And the town of Oakland is proud to honor the men and women who contribute tirelessly to this strength, vitality, and well-being of our community, and to reflect on the progress made in the pursuit of labor rights and the work that still lies ahead. And as we gather to celebrate this Labor Day, we recognize the diversity, dedication, and resilience of our workforce, and we commit to supporting initiatives that promote job creation, fair wages, and opportunities for all. Now, therefore, I, Shane Taylor, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the town of Oakland, Florida, and on behalf of the entire town commission, do hereby proclaim September 7th, 2026 as Labor Day in the town of Oakland and urge all citizens to join in recognizing the celebrating the valuable contributions of workers in our community and across our nation. So thank you very much for that one. This one is Constitution Week 2026, whereas September 17th, 2026 marks the 239th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion. And Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Shane Taylor, Mayor of the town of Oakland, and on behalf of the entire town commission, do hereby proclaim September 17th through September 23rd, 2026 as Constitution Week in the town of Oakland, and ask our citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privileges of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. And one of our favorite ones every year that we do, it's the, and I'd like to say thanks, Krista, and your organization, Healthy West Orange, for being a big part of our town and helping us out on things. So thank you very much.
And thank you for 10 years of supporting us. We are celebrating the 10th anniversary of Healthy Selfie.
You're welcome. And we get a free t-shirt for doing that. Thank you.
You have a very colorful plot.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
do.
you do. Whereas the Healthy West Orange inspires healthy behaviors and provides resources to help residents make better lifestyle choices, and Healthy West Orange champions healthy programs that deliver health and wellness activities. And Healthy West Orange unites health-minded organizations for whom a healthy community provides meaningful benefits. And Healthy West Orange advocates for healthy communities' decisions and encourages local leaders to keep their communities' health and wellness a top priority. And Healthy West Orange declares that the third Friday in September as the annual West Orange Healthy Selfie Day. Now, therefore, it is my great pleasure and privilege as the mayor of the town of Oakland to declare Friday, September 18th, 2026 as West Orange Healthy Selfie Day in the celebration of the 10th anniversary of Healthy Selfie. And I urge all citizens to join in supporting this initiative. So thank you very much. Yeah, you want a selfie? Okay.
Forgot.
Yeah, you hold them right up. I need to change here.
On September 12th, 5. So.
Hey. Moving right along, we're on to the consent agenda tonight. And on the consent agenda is approval of the August 11th, 2026 Town Commission regular meeting minutes, approval of the Town Commission holiday meeting schedule with town hall offices closures, approval of the second extension to the agreement with Wade Trim for planning services, approval of the continuing and interlocal agreement with Orange County Property Appraisers, required communication letter for Purvis Gray. Gosh, that's coming up. Seems like we just did that. Auditors. Notification letter to the Florida Department of Commerce to update the town's comprehensive plan. So with that, any questions or comments from anyone? Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to accept consent agenda as presented.
Second?
I'll second the
All-
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay. All right, next is our an ordinance tonight. It's ordinance number 2026-05, first reading.
An ordinance of the town of Oakland, Florida, adopting a town official zoning map amendment from C1, commercial general within the urban corridor district, design district to PUD, plan unit development within the urban corridor design district for certain real property owned by Oakland Town Center LLC, generally located on the north side of State Road 50, at the northwest corner of the intersection of State Road 50 and Catherine Ross Road, as more particularly described herein, with an approximate size of 14.80 acres, approving a development agreement between the property owner and the town of Oakland, and approving a preliminary subdivision plan, making findings and providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, Taylor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
Sometimes there's a screen behind everyone, and it's okay if you want to turn around and look at that one too, because some of the details I think that they're going to show is probably, you see them better.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Commission. Before we get into the details, I'm so sorry. Before we get into the details about the project, I wanted to give a little bit of a background regarding the actual property in question. So the subject site is comprised of 5 distinct parcels of land, as mentioned, totaling approximately 14.8 acres. It does contain both a commercial future land use classification and zoning, and is in a commercial zoning district. It is located within the town's urban corridor design district, and the intent and purpose of tonight's ordinance, as mentioned, is to approve a rezoning of the property from C1 commercial to PUD planned unit development, approval of the companion development agreement and preliminary subdivision plan, and approve architectural building elevations. And just a little bit of the anatomy of why this is all being approved under a single ordinance. In order to rezone to a planned unit development, you need to create a set of guidelines and restrictions by which that PUD is allowed to develop to. Hence, an exhibit to a PUD is a development agreement, which outlines the regulations that we'll get into later in the presentation. And then serving as an exhibit to that development agreement is the preliminary subdivision plan, which contains the civil site plan and layout, the landscaping plan that we'll take a look at, and the architectural elevations that we'll also view. So that's kind of the, if you will, layer cake that comprises the ordinance that's before you this evening. So looking at the site location map here, the 5 parcels of land mentioned, the only cutout from a clean rectangle is the existing Tractor Supply store. And looking at the actual proposal itself, so the Oakland Town Center is proposed to comprise of 11 single-story commercial buildings of varying sizes and configurations, ranging from an approximately 10,000 square foot large-scale retail building all the way down to a singular 1,200 square foot drive-through building. In addition to that, this does include a little less than 17,000 square feet of open space, which can comprise of plazas, outdoor seating areas, could be largely dependent on what kind of tenants end up moving into the commercial spaces. The project would be accessed via 5 distinct access points, and it would also include a newly constructed roadway by the developer that is intended to be dedicated to the town as a public right-of-way. Because of the very steep elevation grade, which totals approximately 15 feet from north going all the way down to the southern corner, this project is being built with fill and an incorporated retaining wall, which we'll take a look at on the site plan. So giving a little bit more visual credence to the project, you can see here the layout of the 11 buildings. The blue spaces are those proposed outdoor amenity plaza areas. You can see several intermingled throughout the proposed buildings. Each arrow is a distinct access point, 2 off of Catherine Ross, 2 off of the cross access with the Tractor Supply, and 1 here off of State Road 50. And you can see this area is the portion kind of the beginnings of a cross access in that area. And as mentioned, that is intended to be dedicated to the town. So here is the proposed landscape plan. It should be noted, as I mentioned, both the civil and landscape, the entire plan set, that does comprise the preliminary subdivision plan that will be tied to the companion development agreement for this proposed rezoning. And as you can see here, I did want to highlight, it's a little hard to see at this scale, but when the project went before the appearance review board meeting, there was a semi-informal discussion about the desire to have a little bit more landscape screening in between the commercial buildings and the educational facility to the north. This was not explicitly listed as a condition of the project's approval by the appearance review board, but upon going to the planning and zoning board, the applicant group did incorporate the additional screening, which you can faintly see through in between the clusters of trees along the northern side of the property. So as mentioned, with this rezoning, there will need to be a set of guidelines by which the development is to build to. So part of the companion development agreement is outlining what kind of tenants can go into these spaces. The list is wide ranging, as you can see here. Quote unquote, limited to commercial, retail, office, restaurant with no more than one drive-through. That's an important caveat. Educational and clinic uses. It also does specifically outline what cannot go into these facilities, which, as noted here, are smoke and tobacco shops and marijuana dispensaries and shops. In addition to this, there are specific outlined negotiated deviations from the standard code requirements that were negotiated and are incorporated into the language of the development agreement. As an example, explicitly in the text of the development agreement is the allowance for commercial buildings along State Road 50 to go up to 240 feet in width to account for the size and visibility, whereas the General Land Development Code, as an example, allows large store building types to go up to 150 feet in width. And it should be noted that the preliminary subdivision plan is incorporated as an exhibit, but is only the governing reference document. In order for construction to actually begin on this project, it still would need to go through final engineering review, at which point we would go through the town review team to make sure that all the elements would work, are designed properly. And it's at that point that we would also ensure that all outside permitting entities such as the Water Management District, Orange County, and the like have reviewed and provided their approval of the proposal. So as part of this, separate from those variations that are baked into the development agreement, through the ability of the Appearance Review Board to make recommendations on dimensional variances to the town's design district requirements, the applicant did provide a specific list of several variances that they proposed and were reviewed by both the ARB and the Appearance Review Board and the Planning and Zoning Board. So briefly touching on those variations here. The first is commercial building fenestration, the measure of openings in the facade of the building. The town's general code requires 60% building fenestration on all public or right-of-way facing portions of a building. An alternative measure or methodology was proposed by the applicant group for a variety of reasons, or I guess most significantly because of the large elevation required by the retaining wall. A lot of the commercial foot traffic is going to be focused on the interior rather than, having somebody climb the retaining wall to reach the buildings walking along the sidewalk on State Road 50. The last two do pertain to monument signage. The town does allow a single ground-mounted sign per development as part of the proposal, and we'll touch on locations and designs a little later in the presentation, but the applicant does propose 3 monument signs rather than 1. In addition to that, for 2 of those signs, they are requesting the maximum copy area to be 51 square feet, whereas the Land Development Code does for properties or for projects along State Road 50, by definition, it does allow 48 square feet, so 3-foot addition there. So I'll go through these fairly quickly, but here we're just going to go building by building to take a look at the proposed elevations and design of these buildings. And I did, because it did get confusing when I was making this, I did have a helpful little key here to show you which building we are looking at. So here we're looking at one of the interior buildings. This is an example of one of the buildings directly fronting State Road 50. Another interior. The other building directly on State Road 50. This one has its end cap facing Catherine Ross Road. And lastly, this is the building that has its primary frontage along Catherine Ross Road. Now, the last 2 are a little bit different. So this is a proposed 2-tenant building on the southwest portion of the property. And as mentioned, the development agreement does restrict a maximum of a single drive-through facility. And this is the general proposed design of what that drive-through building would look like. Now here are preliminary design renderings of what the proposed signs look like. So as you can see here on the key plan, there are proposed to be two of these, and these are the primary, as you can say, shopping center signs that show the list of tenants. There's proposed to be one at the entrance, the primary entrance on State Road 50, and another at the secondary entrance on Catherine Ross Road. And here you can see kind of the keynote sign, which will have a few anchored, which is proposed to have a few anchor tenants, but would more serve as a introduction visibility, provide visibility for the project. So going a little bit into the staff analysis, as mentioned, the project is located within the town's urban corridor design district. And the intent of this design district is to accommodate mixed-use projects, larger scale developments on major transportation corridor. And through that, the proposed development is consistent due to its supporting of commercial uses with local and regional accessibility along a major commercial thoroughfare there. Additionally, the project would facilitate the redevelopment of an underutilized and vacant property along that major transportation corridor, and could facilitate economic investment and support job creation within the town. Looking at where the project has been before this evening, it was reviewed by the Appearance Review Board at their August 4th meeting. ARB did recommend unanimously to approve the project as presented, including the requested deviations. And the same can be said of the Planning and Zoning Board at last week's meeting on August 18th. So that being said, staff does find the proposed Oakland Town Center substantially compliant with the town's Land Development Code Design District requirements and do recommend approval of Ordinance 2026-05 as presented and provided with your agenda item. Looking to the next steps, the project would next go before you all as the Town Commission again for second and final reading on September 9th. And that does conclude staff's presentation, but the applicant, almost the entirety of the applicant group is here, and they also have a presentation that they would like to give you. So I'm available for any questions, or we can wait till after they speak. Thank you all.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Logan Opsahl, 215 North Yola Drive, Land Use Council for the project. And thank you, Taylor. Taylor's done this presentation 3 times now and has done a great job every time. So thank you. I'll go through my presentation rather briefly because, again, Taylor gave you a really good in-depth overview, but want to offer the commission some visuals of the project and what it looks like because we're really excited to make this kind of an entrance to the town. So here are some of the renderings, and I think what you pick up from this is the unique look, not just of one buildings, but all the building. You know, there was a lot of discussion both at ARB and planning about the fenestration and the look, and I'll get to that in a moment. But what you'll see in these following slides is the way this project's organized and laid out is a way to allow folks to gather a true destination for the town. And then also have some practical considerations like pedestrian safety and site circulation, those sorts of items. We can go to the next slide. And so we can go back one real quick. Yeah, I just want to address this one here because this was discussed at Planning Commission. And again, that goes to pedestrian safety. You'll see this on other slides, but the way that this project is laid out, it's not just one straight line of tenant bays. What you see there, particularly in the bottom right-hand corner, is a lot of features, water features, courtyards, again, gathering places, and all the while allowing for safe pedestrian safety and then vehicle site circulation as well. Go to the next slide. So some of the features here, not just the water features, but the lighting, the courtyards. There are bays all around this project, some behind the buildings and on the side, but a focus on that courtyards to allow people to gather and connect and have some really strong viability for these tenants. We can go to the next slide. So we'll talk a little bit about the signs as well. a lot of work's been going into this project to get us here tonight. And Taylor talked about that, the PUD ordinance, the development agreement that goes with it, of course, the site plan, all of which represents months long and year plus of work with your staff and coordinating. PUD zoning ordinances and jurisdictions, when I discuss them, right, I always say they're negotiated zoning standards. They allow for what can be allowed on a project, but also what can't be. And all of those items, as it relates to design standards, ensure that the project meets or exceeds your code standards. And where they don't, there's certain trade-offs to allow for a logical and successful site design. Now, the three that's before you tonight that differ slightly from the code that are specifically being called out is the fenestration, the monument sign, and then the sign square footage. 60% building fenestration is the code requirement, and we're offering a blend of those percentages. So some meet and exceed, and some are slightly below. But that's twofold. One is to provide a unique look across the project. Again, not just that bland strip that you typically see in other areas. And also functionality of the tenant bays. This is a direct response and then designed by architecture team and our engineering team of what the market is demanding from tenants, and we'll talk about those in a second. The second is the monument signs, the 3 versus 1, and Taylor showed you on the site plan how those are laid out. And you'll see in other slides, including this one, it also helps to break up some of the retaining wall area. But this is also serves the important use of placemaking and wayfinding. This is out on 50. It's a high speed road, so we want to make sure folks see the signs and what's being offered there. But also, too, this is a gateway into the town. This is something Alex came up on previous hearings, and he talked a lot about some of the Class A tenants that we're looking to attract here that you see in Winter Park, that you see in Winter Garden. But what we're offering with this design is something that's uniquely Oakland. And with that came the name, and then we want to make sure that we have attractive signs to attract people to the town, to this development, and what's being offered. And the last is the signage square footage, which is we're suggesting 51 square footage versus the 48, so just a slight deviation there. I think now's a good time while we look at the tenant signage to talk a little bit about some of the tenants that we're looking to attract here. And
Hey everybody, I'm Alexi with Colliers. I'm a brokerage company based in Orlando, Florida. I work on ground up development leasing in Orlando. Winter Park Village is one of those that we just finished. Icon Park and O-Town West in Sand Lake and Palm Parkway. I've been hired by the team here to do the leasing of this project and really try to bring in a very curated mix of tenants to this project. So we are focused on some great restaurant anchor tenants that are new to market or even local restaurants that are very popular and well known. So some of the tenants, for example, that we're talking to is Agave Azul, who could be a great anchor for this project right up in front. Bar Italia is another one that we recently signed in Winter Park, and they're still looking for new opportunities as well. Sushi Saint and Good Salt Group are local restaurants here in Orlando. They're very local favorites, and they're voted, best of Orlando regularly. So those are restaurants that are looking for new opportunities. And since there's not too much capacity right now in Winter Garden on Plant Street, and Claremont's kind of capped out, we're a great spot for these restaurants to look at and feed both of those markets. Some of the other tenants that we're looking at, some dessert curated users like your Jenny's Blended Ice Cream, Salt and Straw, and Mayday Ice Cream, also looking in the area. And then, of course, looking for some great curated local shops, coffee shops where people can sit and work and spend some time, and where community kind of comes together. And a part of that, the signage is important, and the 16,000 square feet of amenity space that we have with these big courtyards, that's an opportunity for these communities to come together and gather. Restaurant patios are super important here as well. And then, of course, targeting some great local service, service-related uses that are really going to feed daily needs, and then health and wellness concepts. So Solid Core Pilates is another group that's looking out here. Barry's Boot Camp and Pause, which is one of those like sauna, cold plunge type places. And then breakfast is huge. With the church being next door, we definitely want like a great full-service breakfast concept. So we're talking with Pura Vida and Motec. Those are concepts out of Miami. that have multiple locations and very great, healthy farm-to-table type foods. Thank you.
Thank
Do
you,
we
Lex.
Do we hear anything about macaronis and meatballs anywhere in there?
Yeah. We found our new anchor tenant right there. We can go to the next slide, please.
Forget it, sorry.
So in addition to the signage, I think that this slide does a good job of demonstrating the landscaping that'll go on to and allowing again for this kind of Class A space and an attractive welcome to the town. We can go to the next slide. Looking down at the site plan, this slide will help show how the signs are located on the overall project. That one on the corners, that's your bottom right, is in front of the retaining wall area. And there's also some stormwater compensation areas there as well. And I believe the next slide has landscape. Yeah, thank you. So Taylor discussed this as well during staff's presentation, but one of the items we heard back from ARB was having some additional landscaping. So our team got right on it and amended our landscape plan to provide for some additional landscaping, which is up there in the top right corner of the site plan to allow to some breakup of the view shed there. And then also importantly, that right-of-way area, which I think is going to be a huge benefit to the connectivity of the town and access to this town center as well. Just have one slide, yeah. So wanted to touch a little bit too on the economic impact that this project can provide to the town. So I'm going to invite up Castell to talk a little.
Good evening, everyone, Mr. Mayor, commissioners. We're very excited about this project, obviously, and we ran some numbers for you, and we try to be actually conservative. So what you see here is what we're anticipating probably, the first couple of years as the development grows. And like Alex mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we'd rather normally just underpromise and overdeliver. So we think as far as, the private project investment, it's going to be somewhere around $20 to $25 million. And we wanted to just kind of show you how a tax revenue would look at an assessed value of $20 to $30 million, which would be probably, like I said, around inception in the first couple of years. And we're looking at a total annual property tax value, of up to $610,000. And we actually broke down the town's portion of that. And you see that on the last column. So we have, $135,000 to $203,000 a year in actual town benefits. But of course, as you know, a lot of that 610 will go to schools and so on and so forth. So we would think there's probably ancillary benefits. And as the project grows, as you probably all know, most likely the assessed value will grow with it too. So we expect these to grow. But we wanted to give you a bit of a start. So we can go to the next slide. And we also understand that, of course, there's direct property tax impact, but there's other benefits to the town. So one of them would be, employment. And we put it as local jobs because we think it will attract a lot of local employment. And we estimate permanent jobs anywhere from 450 to 550. We've used, standard per square foot data to just kind of, give you a bit of an estimate. We try to just kind of blend, from the blended tenants and everything, we expect about $40 million a year in business activity. And, just payroll alone, probably 18 to 20 million. And then you see the total sales tax generated would probably, think it's going to be around $2 million a year. And I hope you're just as excited as we are. We're hoping to beat these numbers. Our success is your success and your success is ours. So I think with that, turn it back to you. Unless you had any questions on this, Meg.
We can go to the next slide. And I'll just conclude here. Again, a lot of work has gone into this project, and excited and exciting is the adjectives we keep using. This project in this area, it's a no-brainer, and this is something that we view as really successful. We spent a lot of time working with FDEP and other applicable permitting agencies to take care of some of the site constraints and the design. And I just want to, again, thank your staff for all of the considerable time and effort they put into this. we're excited to get this project going. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. Appreciate it. Let's do this first. This is an ordinance. It is a public hearing. So let's open it up to anybody in the public, then we'll bring it back to the table here, and then we'll ask our questions on that. Does anybody in the audience have any questions or anything? Yes, Ed. Claire, there's a seat up here if you want to sit. There's a seat up here. You good?
I think Ed would have offered you
No,
a seat.
well,
Ed Kulikowski, 51 Vandermeer Street. So I think this project is pretty nice. And I think it'll add a lot of value to us, but I do have two questions. Number one, if I understand the plan correctly, there's going to be a retaining wall along State Route 50. I'm curious how tall that's going to be. That will be a real visual impediment to getting into this project, especially if it's really tall. And so I'd like to hear the developer's comments on that. Number two, I'd like to understand the development plan. Is this going to be a phased development where we have a few buildings and get some tenants and then build some more? Or is it going to be accomplished as a single build and open for tenancy and business as a whole complete project?
you guys want to address those?
Good evening, Brent Lenzen with Kimley Horn, the engineer of record for the project, 200 South Orange Avenue, Suite 600. So the topography, I was hoping this question would come up because the team did a great job presenting, but I was hoping I'd have some sort of role here tonight. Hold, please.
I like hers better.
So as Taylor mentioned in the presentation, the rectangle that's held out that prevents this whole property being a rectangle is the existing Tractor Supply. So if you look at that site when it was developed, there's an existing dry retention pond to the right side of it on the east side. And that dry retention detention area does benefit some of the property area that this proposed development is a part of. The nuance is if you come in the site right on the entrance to Tractor Supply, you can realize those out parcels right along 50 are much lower. Hydraulically, we know water can't flow uphill. So stormwater wise, you have to raise the site to get water up to the dry pond. In addition, for the balance of the site, we're conveniently or inconveniently located within a recharge basin area where you're required to first flush stormwater through dry pretreatment. So it forces infiltration into the aquifer. We have additional nutrient requirements for being in the Apopka Basin. So from a design standpoint, apologies for the technical jargon, but this is not a great stormwater management basin to be in. So there's additional storage, treatment, nutrient removal required. So all those things being said, that's why that large rectangular white space you see on the plan is an expanded dry retention area. And then what can't get to that area, you'll see on the lower right-hand corner, there's the boomerang. So that is an elevated higher dry pretreatment. And then it gets to the triangular lower pond area, which is going to be your traditional wet detention stormwater pond. So that's the pond that'll have water in it all the time. All those other areas will be dry. So all that to say, this project is really all those regulations are required by St. Johns River Water Management District. We have secured a permit through St. Johns River Water Management District for this project. And to make the master infrastructure and stormwater management work, that is why the site has to be up as high as it is. So as you come along 50 and you start at the entry on the far left side of this plan, you'll start with a wall that ultimately holds up higher as 50 drops down there. So at the main entry, that retaining wall is going to be close to 10 feet tall. And that's just the reality, like Taylor mentioned, the true dimension from the far or elevation from the far northwest corner where the Tractor Supply pond is to the water in the existing ditch at the southeast, it's 18 feet. It goes from a 114 to a 96. There's a lot of grade change. It's misleading. I drove by the site again this evening coming here. I was like, man, it doesn't look like 18 feet, but it truly is. So there's a lot of engineering challenges that force the plan to demand a retaining wall along 50. There are some challenges with that I can understand from a visibility standpoint, but truly the way this project has been designed to almost internally centralize the focus of the development, the intent is to really separate from 50. 50 is not a very pedestrian walkable corridor. So within this development, having the multiple buildings facing each other, it creates more of a town center feel, which is what the project's really being designed for. So that's kind of how we've had to counteract the topography and the elevation change throughout the site. I hope that helps answer that question. That's the highest.
By the height of that ceiling right there, Ed.
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Alex Reese. I'm one of the managers in the project. From a lease-up standpoint, the goal is to do a single build. It's really predicated on tenant lease-up, right? Because you don't want to build something and not have a tenant there. There's a lot of specs that go into each individual tenant. And so some tenants want, different courtyard stuff. They want different, things in their building, whether it's grease traps or restroom locations or things. So our idea as it sits now is to do the engineering at one time and kind of get it pad ready and lease up the project. Again, we're going to ICSE at the end of the month, and we've got a lot of appointments. This is a very, very, very popular site. Thank goodness. When we first got the engineering, we about fell out of our chair. All right, because nobody wants to build a 10-foot retaining wall, and nobody wants to put $7 million in engineering work on a site. Right, that was crazy. What we've kind of come away with is this creates an oasis for the town. You kind of have to make lemonade sometimes out of lemons. And so the way this sits up now, it'll have a lot of privacy. It'll cut down all the road noise from Highway 50. It'll give a very unique feel to the center. You're not going to feel like you're on Highway 50. You're going to feel like you're in a place way off of Highway 50 with fountains and nice pedestrian walkways and nice landscaping. It's going to feel very different. We've added golf cart parking as well. And our goal is to create a very winter park, winter garden feeling to this, right? We want to bring something to the community that everybody in the community participates in and comes over and wants to have dinner or wants to do something in this particular town center. We're very proud of it. We named it Oakland Town Center because we wanted to be a marquee for the town of Oakland. We think that this is going to help bridge Highway 50, if you will, into the town in a very nice, meaningful way. And I hope we do have a full lease up. We'll know more about that maybe on the second reading. I can answer that in more detail, but we do have a lot of great interested tenants that we're very grateful that we have. There's a lot of interest because of the close proximity to Horizons West, obviously to the south, Winter Garden, right, to the east, and you have Claremont to the west, and you're blocked by the, Lake Apopka. So there's just a lot of trips per day through here. And there's a lot of, how should I put this? The type of folks that live in these areas are very in high demand for a lot of these retailers and a lot of these food businesses and stuff. So to that end, we're very excited. So hopefully that answered the question for you.
Thanks, Alex. I like how you put the success and failure on this project on the leasing broker. So that's good. Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else have any questions or comments in the public? Okay, so seeing nothing else, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back here. And Commissioner Keller, do you want to start off?
I have a few things, but first I want to say that I'm very excited about this project. I think it is wonderful that you all see the potential here. I did cheat and watch the P&Z meeting because I wanted to get some more information. So I was excited to hear about some of the entities that are considering space and whatnot. So, and again, thank you for thinking of Oakland. So I have a couple of things. They might sound a little nitpicky, I have to confess, but there are things that I think are kind of important to address. And I'll just start with the first one, which again, love the project, but I'm a little concerned about the Oakland Town Center because we do have our town center here that we kind of consider the core of the town, the historic downtown of our town. And we do have plans to do, development down Tubb Street and whatnot. So personally, I understand wanting to call that. Again, I love the feel of that space and how it's going to be, but that's just something that I don't know if anybody else has any feelings about that, but I definitely want to put that out there, and anyone else can, obviously I'm one vote we're all one vote. It's not a deal breaker, but it's just something that I think is important because we do have our downtown center here. And I just want to make sure we don't take away from that. So that would be something that is important to me. Another thing is and again, I understand there's going to be the ginormous retaining wall along 50, but particularly, I think it's building 2 and 3, the ones that are 2 and 4 that front Highway 50 above the wall. From the illustrations and the renderings that I've seen, I don't love that kind of back of house look. I've been out of town, so I didn't have the chance I wanted to drive through Winter Park and kind of see how 1792 looks. Because yes, it is elevated and we want to drive everybody to that center core. This really is kind of becoming, and you said it yourself, a gateway to our town. So I have some concerns about just the backs of those buildings and how they even at above a wall, I'd like to see something I drove down Sand Lake Road and I looked at like the Trader Joe's and the developments along Sand Lake Road that have some back of house, and they've basically made those back of those buildings look as similar to the front of the building. So that would be something that I would like to possibly see how that could be addressed better, or even with landscaping, just to make that not so look like the back of a building as you're driving through the gateway of our town, right? So bear with me. I'm trying to remember all my scribble here. So I'd also be open to, if you guys have other developments where you've done this kind of frontage, if you want to give us some ideas on that, I'd be interested in going to see those. And the only other thing is the Catherine Ross Road signage. My only concern is, that's kind of it's become a main street to cut through to 50, but the fact that it's kind of residential and there's a neighborhood there, don't love that big sign on Catherine Ross. I'm okay with the other ones, and especially that one on the corner, I think kind of covers, I know it's only going to be anchor tenants, but I feel like it addresses folks on Catherine Ross. Catherine Ross Road isn't going to, in my opinion, be like a major thoroughfare, but I think it is good to have an access point from Catherine Ross Road. So those are the kind of the things that are important to me.
You guys want to address anything that? Yeah.
I think from a fenestration perspective off of 50, I think what you'll find is that we've really made those buildings look not like back of house. Like it's not like a flat building, right? We've taken a lot of the architecture, and the only thing that it's missing is windows, right? It's missing a window component. The buildings are up very high, so it will be very difficult to see it going by, but there's a lot of landscaping. The landscaping is probably going to be the biggest buffer. And so I would say that I think that's been addressed, but I would love to get down with like maybe sit down with you on those buildings particularly and just walk through those buildings. I do want to make clear that all of your comments are very important to us. Okay. I as a developer, we want to have, we want every vote. We don't want a majority. We want every single vote here, and we're willing to work for those votes. I think, case in point, we put some landscaping on the back of the project because there was a person in one of the meetings that was not satisfied with the landscaping buffer between our project and the school, which I thought was a good idea. We've also added golf cart parking, which was suggested at the last meeting. My point is, this project's already fairly expensive. And if we have to do a few things to make sure that you're satisfied with the project, we're happy to do those things. Still, did you want to hit on the other?
Mentions. Yeah, I do think they're great questions, and we really thought about that actually, and especially the buildings you mentioned. So of course the retaining wall left aside, and we thought, okay, well, how can we even make that better? So and we don't have the full renderings here because we try to keep the presentation just a little shorter. I can even probably send you something that's a lot more specific to those buildings, so you can kind of have a bit of a visual. So what we did there is, of course, we added additional landscaping at the top of the wall. And as far as the elevation itself, we kept it identical on the front and the back. So both sides are actually identical. So we kept all the articulation and all the beauty of the front, except like Alex mentioned, we took away the fenestration because in truth, cost left aside, we actually thought that because of the height and because of the landscaping, we're adding those 10, 12-foot windows were probably not going to be visible to begin with. But we did think about that and purposely, and I can understand your fear because a lot of buildings, the back of the buildings, they're just flat. So, they forget all the beauty. I'll actually even add further that even the rear buildings that are facing the dry retention, we kept the back of those identical to the front too. So we kept all of the bump outs and all the articulation and everything just to still, give that beauty. And like I said, I can send you some visuals that are maybe they'll make you understand it a little bit better.
The images that I saw, and I wasn't sure I was going to get to it, were those, and it's really the dry retention pond, the back of those buildings, I think is less critical, but
Oh, no, I agree.
ones on 50 looked, and again, just trying to figure out which building was which building in the renderings, I wasn't really 100% sure, but it did just, there's one where there's like a back of a building and there's like a UPS guy, they're showing, because again, those
Yeah, fair
are
enough.
the back of those buildings where they're going to get deliveries. So either the back of those buildings need to be dressed up a little bit, or that landscaping needs to be a little bit higher so you're not really seeing the back of those buildings.
Mhm.
Again, I understand what you're saying. If you're driving on
The bottom will be, yeah.
I thought it was, yeah. So
And that's going to be up 10 feet.
Yeah, and that doesn't show the retaining wall naturally, right?
10 feet from the people on that side of, driving down that side of 50. If you're on the other side, you're going to see the back of that. And, again, this is our gateway to our community. And I just want to make sure that it looks welcoming for your project success.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's really just those two buildings that I think are the biggest issue, because it just looks a little industrial there because it's just the back of the buildings. And
And it could also be, not to interrupt you, it could also be a fact, it is a rendering, obviously, so the landscaping, is representative. Of course, when the landscape architects and we'll get together with the town on this too, of course, they'll have their say as well. And I think this was discussed a little bit in the past, where, of course, we can add, something that's much taller per se. Yeah, but you can. Mhm.
is like the door, like that.
Yes, and that is because it's directly eye level too, so I can understand that perfectly. If you don't mind, I can send, probably through the town, I can send you a couple of additional renderings from pedestrian level, actually on 50, so you can see, well, which looks a little bit different, and with a little more landscaping. And this is what I wanted to point out, how the articulation of the building, it's identical to the other side, so we didn't really do the flat building for that purpose alone, because it was important for us to do that. But I can send you some stuff if that would be okay.
Just reminded me, one of the things that I forgot to mention was,
Sure.
and again, I know it's been through ARB already. I think it's beautiful. I do feel like, I don't, I'm struggling because we have this historic downtown and again, and this is kind of new and flashy and I think it's great, but I was surprised that ARB didn't, I don't know if I didn't watch their meeting, so I don't know what they addressed, but about, the aesthetic being a little more of our charm for our town. I don't want to be a mini winter park. I want us to be uniquely Oakland, and I think that personally, I would like to see it maybe a little more old Florida. Like that's what my neighborhood was required to do when the houses were built at my neighborhood, and some of the other house, developments. That's been a thing that we've looked at with those, the houses in those neighborhoods was kind of more that old Florida and uniquely Florida. I think there's a way to still do that and still get the kind of clientele that we're hoping for. But again, that's just my personal feeling.
No, and I think it's a fair point. It's really tough, right? Because we've thought of so many things and we've really considered everything. Obviously, we try to think of the community, we try to think of the architecture quality of it, of course, the economic feasibility, because they all just go together. So it's like you can't really do one without the other. We try to make it as beautiful as possible. Of course, I'm not going to repeat the outdoor areas or whatever. Even in our architecture, we try to, if you look at them, and I know the renderings are a little smaller, but we have two different architectural styles that are complementing each other. So, and that allows us to have buildings that are different although they keep the general design and look. But you don't have that retail center where it's like every building is a cookie cutter. We only have two sets of buildings that are, if you want to call it identical, but it's because they're split by courtyard. Another thing we did is, and this is just kind of an indirect answer to your question because it's hard for, obviously, it's hard to change the architecture at this point. But even on the variance of the extending the building width to 220 feet, I believe it's what it was. We decided not even to use the maximum of that. We've actually split up a lot of the buildings, so we try to, like Alex said, just to make it as
I think one
good
of
for you
the
as
things that's
possible.
Very old Florida is the landscaping, right? If you look at the landscaping, we used a great deal of palm trees and made it kind of old Florida in that regard, because we don't want to lose that as well. I mean, here's the thing. We're not trying to come in and do some shiny project, right? Our goal is to drive something that feels like it belongs here, okay? I think that was kind of the benefit, frankly, of having it raised up, because when it first was raised up, we thought the project was just not feasible. I mean, there was a period of time where it looked like, hey, with the kind of engineering work that it's going to take to do this project, this is better suited for, something other than us. And so over time, kind of the benefit of being on Highway 50 is that rents have gone up. And the rents that have gone up have sort of allowed us to fund a project like this. This is a very, very nice project. It's definitely not a cookie cutter project. It's a high class project. Yes, it's a forward-looking architecture, but it's not leaving Oakland behind forward. It's the landscaping and the lushness of it, I think, really helps blend kind of what's modern today with what is still, Oakland. I think it goes well with the city. Obviously, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but I really like it for the town. I think the landscaping alone and the height of it is going to create this oasis for the town to come and gather. So as far as the sign on Catherine Ross, the reason we added that sign was the fact that we felt like there were going to be quite a few people coming down Catherine Ross that would want to know what's in the center without having to get on 50. And that marquee, albeit if you are turning on Catherine Ross, you do see those four key tenants, if you will. But when you turn on to Catherine Ross, you don't see the majority of the tenants in the center. And what we thought is hoped, if you will, we hoped that a lot of people in the town came over and they were on golf carts and came from the town and they could see what was in the center through that sign. And that was kind of a gateway for them to look at and see and recognize those tenants that, again, we're trying to inventory this. You guys did a study about 7 or 8 years ago. And I read that study, and what I took away from that study was that you guys wanted a lot of restaurants that were like farm to table, good quality stuff, like quality food restaurants. We're not slapping this full of, Fortune 500 companies, right? This isn't, McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and, everything else. And a lot of that is, a lot of those deals are deal driven, meaning that, the reason Chick-fil-A goes somewhere and the reason a lot of these big majors go places is because they sell for a cap rate and their cap rates are very low. And so from a financial perspective, they're very desirable to have in a center, right? So we kind of, obviously in some respects, I just want you to understand like the dollars and cents of this. We shun that and we said, no, that's not our goal here. Our goal is to create something that's going to survive the next 10, 20, 30 years and grow with the town and have a lot of boutique feel to it. And when I suggest Winter Park or Winter Garden, I'm not suggesting that we want to make it, Winter Park or Winter Garden. What I'm suggesting is what those towns have done very well, I think, is they've kept like a very boutique feel to their town. It's a very unique feel, right? They didn't sell out to just all these major retailers. And that's what I'm saying when I talk about that. I'm saying that we're not going to do that. We're not going to bring in, all Fortune 500 companies and all these big mass, retailers. So there's one more question that you had. I apologize. The name, I'm happy to change the name, right? If you guys want to change the name, I'm happy to change the name. We thought the name was cool. I like the name because of the fact that it was Oakland Town Center. We wanted to advertise it as a town center feel. But your point is well taken. We do not want to cannibalize your town center, and we do not want to take over your town center. So I'm happy to come to the next reading with 5 different names and we can all talk about the names. That's easy change. And it's not like we're beholden to that. So that's easy.
Thank you for considering that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing project and I don't want to have things that make you scared to not come here and not do this because we. think-
No, we're not scared. I mean, look, this is a partnership, right? And we need feedback from everyone here. It's a partnership. I mean, you're trusting us and we're trusting you. This is a lot of money for our group. All right. We're not Unicor, right? This is a big project for us. And so we're here to do something that's a big project that we've picked Oakland to do it in because we think the city is ready for this project. And we think the people that we've worked with have been super supportive of the project. But honestly, we think it's going to be feasible for us to make money on this project. We're not looking to make all the money in the world on this project. We're looking to develop a project that everyone in this room can be proud of that project. That's the goal.
I think that's great. We think Oakland's a very special town and I think this is a very special project and we're glad that you're considering doing it here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's it for me.
All right, we'll go to Commissioner Motley.
Good evening. I just have a few points, and I guess I will begin by tail ending a few of the concerns that Commissioner Keller brought up. The name to me was the town center. Again, I think that with the comprehensive plan that we've developed for what we consider to be our town center, that project just would not be the center of the town. So that's my commentary on that. However, I will expound on, our quest for commercial development. I think that this is a project that is much needed and desired in the area. The plans are diversity of design, are attractive, and brings a little character and maybe people to the town that, aren't familiar or pass through and want to be a part of this community. So I think that in that vein, we've got diversity of down. We've got Fourth and Tub, we've got this, and then the comprehensive plan will come later, which will address, some of the character and the intimate nature and details that we want to preserve in the town. My only question with regard to the landscape plan would be the area of enhanced screening between the educational space. I kind of wanted to get a better idea of the visibility and plan for that separation of the educational space with the project.
So as that graphic gets pulled up, maybe. So let's keep it simple. The larger circles are canopy trees. So the initial plan did have the significant cluster towards the right side. Sorry, I'm way taller than this microphone. They had the significant cluster on the right side already on the plan for buffering. And then we had the spots along the stormwater management pond. But what has been added is hard to see in this image is the dark black strip is a hedgerow. So that'd be something along the lines of a viburnum, podocarpus, something like that you'd plant probably at 3 or 4 foot plant height. But that can grow to be substantial, 7, 8 feet easily hedged out. So it's a more opaque buffer along that facade, just to add some screening from the school. We can work with staff during the engineering and site plan approvals just to make sure the planted height is appropriate for having screening day one instead of 5 years later, you actually have a shrub that you can't see through.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've determined that retaining wall is 10 feet tall, going down 50 and heading to the west. It kind of goes down a little bit. Is that correct? That's just kind of half of where I'm going, but
Yeah, I want to make sure the image isn't the whole frontage of 50 is a 10-foot wall, because it will not. You're going to start at almost nothing on the left end of the screen.
okay, that's where I was.
Start getting it from nothing. It's going to grow to 10 feet at the main entry driveway. Then it's going to go to about 6 feet as you get towards the stormwater management pond and turn in, basically go around that triangular piece.
Okay,
So it's not a
exactly.
solid 10-foot blank wall.
So when it goes around the corner on Sununit Catherine Ross Road,
So what
you just want to call
it won't.
Motomasic, and it took me like 20 years to be able to say Motomasic, so it's, When it goes around there, same thing.
So it won't go around Catherine Ross Road. So what you see on the plan is we're going to wall up basically that dry stormwater, we'll call it for today's purposes, the boomerang pond. So that'll be up higher at a higher elevation, and it's going to drop down to where that wet triangular wet pond is. So that pond you see on the corner is going to be at grade. It'll be a traditional, when you're at Catherine Ross and 50, there's no walls right there.
I got it. Okay. And so I'm assuming the road to be built is going to probably go right back behind the school. Is that
Correct, between us and the school.
So, and that will be ground level itself all the way back here.
Yes, sir.
So the buildings facing there will be.
Be at grade, same as the road. Yep.
Chris's point that we want to make sure that it's just not a back of a building. And I understand it's backing up to the school, but there's a few people on the west end of it too that you would go behind. So, okay. And then, to be the downer in the room, I do have to agree. It's what we need. And I understand we've been trying to figure out how to do this for a long time. It is the project that we need, but I don't know any other way to put it, but in my mind, it does not have an Oakland look or feel to it. We can say the architecture or the landscaping, is old Florida, but the buildings are not. And that's the stumbling point for me. I don't know if it's not a deal closure at this point, but it definitely doesn't look what we've worked for the last, forever to be that. I'll use the word we haven't used in a long time, that the Mayberry look. And I don't know if there's anything that additionally could dress up some of that at some point, or if we're too far past that.
Yeah, I mean, we got a little bit of time for the second reading, so we'll take a look at those things. I can't do it as eloquently as Castell and Alex, but a lot of thought went into this. Your points are well taken. I think they call that Florida vernacular, if I'm correct. So we'll look into those items for a second.
Okay, just so there's something we could do. Be honest with you, that was a stumbling block with the racetrack for 10 years before we moved forward till we could come to an agreement on what it was. I mean, that's how much we really want, that look to be. But again, the project is what we need here. So there's not I don't feel that I would want to stop this project. Don't get me wrong, but if there's a way that we can make it look a little more Florida-y, I guess, for the word. That's the Jimmy Buffett word, Florida.
One thing I wanted to mention is, we did add a lot of cladding, so a lot of brick. I know it's not very visible in the small renderings, but you always find that a lot of the pillars and, next to the tenant spaces, we did add some of that brick that kind of reminds you of Oakland. So, and I understand your point perfectly. It's not, a picture perfect of identical with Oakland, but we did do that. Another way to do it, it's lighting too. And we also chose the colors intentfully as well because we want it to be warm and not just like a cold modern look. So, and to Logan's point, of course, we'll kind of brainstorm a little bit too, but I wanted to bring up the cladding because it is harder to see in the smaller renderings. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I could just say, so I think it sounds like we just need some different renderings. It sounds like you've already kind of made some things that these renderings look very modern and very square. And I think, maybe it's just that it sounds like you have better renderings that would maybe be more in line with what we're.
Well, that's definitely what we want to do. We want to bring new renderings and share those with you guys with the wall and everything, and share the lighting that Costel mentioned. There was a lot of, not to harp on it, but the lighting is more of an old school look. And so with the landscaping, so we do want to share those with you because it wasn't lost on us that we wanted this to look kind of old Florida. It's just, this is the type of construction that is being done right now too. And so it's, in the sense of tenants and whatnot. And there was I hate to get into it, but this is the best looking budget construction. Like if you get into just doing everything a completely, different elevation, the cost can get just astronomical. It can be kind of like almost impossible to do a project in that regard.
Okay.
Do your best.
Good. Okay. Mine's, I'm going to dive into more the developer agreement on some things. I think, again, I'll echo, it's a great project. I'm excited about it. and this may be something between developer and attorneys and can work out and stuff, but just on the developers agreement, there is, I'm on page 3A, permitted and prohibited uses. One of the things I brought up was educational facilities. I know that some of this is probably taken from the code as well. When I think of educational facilities, I think, and it specifically says in here, not limited to daycare, pre-K, and kindergarten. Just to the north is a school with a pre-K and a kindergarten. And just down the street is Kitty Academy. That's right there. So if there's a way that we can strike that, educational facilities maybe work better with if it was a tutoring facility or Garrett, you said Crum was another one or something like that. Human. So I mean, those would work because they're kind of more of a retail type thing. But what I would not want to open it up to is somebody coming in and you leasing it to a daycare and they say, well, I got to put an outdoor space and I'm just going to use part of this plaza and I'm going to fence it in and stuff. So if we can just negate any of that or any of that confusion there, I think that would be best. So maybe in that development agreement, we just kind of strike through that that issue. Okay, great. And then the other one I had on that same section was retail sale of automotive parts. It's not like I want an auto zone or anything like that in the plaza. So I don't believe that neither would anybody else. I mean, you wouldn't want to pull your car up and the guy walks out with a battery and changes out your car. That needs to stay there. Yeah.
So just to give you clarity on why we left it in, we left that in because 30 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in other words, things happen. And so the reason you leave these in is just to give, it's not even for our development. So I have no problems taking it out.
Yeah.
Just be clear why we left it in. You want to leave it in with the broadest use possible for any future development, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. That's the reason it was left out.
Agreed. 30 years we'll be flying in cars. So absolutely. So we'll just, I'll hand these notes to the town and they can relay those to you as well. On the phasing, I think you answered that question, Ed's question. I had a question as well. Is it multiple phases or is it one phase? It's good to hear that you're going to try to knock it out in one phase and put all the burden on your leasing agent. Thanks for the golf cart parking. That's great. I think it's going to be a bigger than you think on golf cart parking with people, the amount of golf carts that are in this town coming from Winter Garden and everywhere. So thank you for doing that. Lighting that you have here on J, is it possible, and I don't think you have it in there, obviously you're going to have lighting inside the development and all that. Is there a possibility to put lighting along Catherine Ross, along just in front of your premises? It's like street lighting or something like that to look at, maybe 3 lamps or something like that to take a look at. Okay.
With regard to lighting, do we have anything in our code about, I know my predecessor, dark sky, and is it in there?
It's in here. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely in their dark skies compliant, which everything in Orange County has to be now. But yeah, if you can, and I'll leave again, it's marked up on the site plan. If you can just take a look at that, see if that's something that we can work together on. And then the other one you had down here was stormwater and environmental. And I noticed that the Motomassic Canal, it cuts in front of your wet retention pond and dry pond. It's kind of right there on the edge. Were there any plans to do anything, any treatments to that versus what it looks like today, which is just a ditch? Well,
Yeah, we have limitations with what we're actually able to do because it's within an easement dedicated and it's DOT drainage, but I don't think there was an intent we're going to tie in prior to that existing drainage canal and not impact.
because that runs on the property, right? On the corner. Yeah, on the corner. I take a look at it if you would, because the reason being is you'd hate to see what it looks like today when you drive through it. And you got this great project, and that's the first thing you're going to see is an open ditch. It's a ditch, is what it is. And if there's a way to, I don't know, treat it, maybe landscaping, maybe hide it where no one sees it or whatever. That type of treatment is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about dig it up or put it in a box culvert or anything like that. I'm just saying there's a way to kind of
Clean it up.
somewhat nice.
There was a point years ago that Mike Parker went in there and cleaned it up very nice.
Mhm.
It's overgrown, but that, whoever owns that particular piece, because there's like 42 people that own parts of this canal, believe me, we know a lot about it. But there's nothing says it can't be like cleaned up and dressed up a little bit, because, I agree with the mayor, it looks pretty bad right now.
Sure.
Next one I have is the transportation impact fees, and part of the transportation impact fees relate to the construction of Sadler, East Sadler is what it's, I guess, going to be called, that runs behind. On the plan, there's a portion, I believe, that you're constructing as part of the project, which is the hatched area. I don't know if that site plan is shown. And then there's the other portion that kind of runs half the retention pond behind Tractor Supply. On that, in this agreement, we had an engineer's opinion of probable cost of $477,000 to construct that road, to build that road. And within that, the town would then give you credits towards the project for that. That's the picture right there, perfect. And does that 477 include the entire length from Catherine Ross to Star, or just the portion that's there?
Just the portion that's there.
Okay.
Right? No? Okay, sorry, Brent.
Highlighted is specifically the right-of-way dedication portion that's coming as part of this project. The rest of that stretch already has right-of-way for it, but that cost estimate was for the whole entire lane.
Okay, so there's a portion that, or is there a portion that you're building as part of your project because you have an entrance coming off?
That entire lane.
Okay, right. No, what I'm saying is as part of the project, not part of the impact fee credits. So what I'm saying is if you're coming off of Catherine Ross, right, where the dark arrow is, and you're having to build that to get to your entrance, it looks like on that north side, is that development, that's the developer's need.
Prior to coordination with the city or the town on that road, the right-of-way dedication and the road extension, I believe our intent was to have the 4 points of access that were also shown already without that northernmost connection.
Okay. I just think needs probably be a little more conversation on that in the impact fee credits. I mean, it is, I'm all for the impact fee credits. I think it's great if you can do that. I just want to make sure that the impact fee credits that are being offered are not, are to the town's benefit, not to the developer's benefit. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
For your need, right? So we'll take a look at that and figure out that one there. What page here? So you have on N, section N, construction trailers, up to 3 construction trailers, whatever. Is the plan also to try to do construction fencing around the project while construction is happening? Is that something we can do with scrim or whatever? Yeah. 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 Perfect. It's just not an agreement, so I just wanted to make sure. And it protects you, right? It protects the public, and it protects everybody from getting sued. And then I believe Catherine Ross, and we'll need to confirm this with Mike, but on number 4 of the utilities, I think that stub out for the connection, for the water connection in the hydrant has been put in. We'll just need to confirm that, but I believe it was put in with the construction Catherine Ross. And the reason I'm saying that is there's a section here, in the event the town has not commenced construction. If it's already in, we'll just strike that to make this agreement cleaner so that no one's kind of, I think it is too. And it just makes things a little cleaner. No confusion later down the road when somebody else is sitting up here looking at it. Other than that, gentlemen, ladies, the signage that you have on there, there's the one that's down by the Tractor Supply. Is that yours to maintain, or will that be Tractor Supply? Because there is a blank plate underneath it.
That is Tractor Supply.
So that's theirs.
That's theirs.
In place as is.
I think that's the case. We don't own that sign.
I can give some clarification. There is actually a recorded easement for that sign in that location. So that is the responsibility of Tractor Supply to maintain.
Okay. So they maintain it. It's theirs. It
Yes,
just happens to be sitting.
happens to be on their property,
Right.
yes.
Okay. And then Alex, the other thing I saw there was the billboard. What's the deal on the, are you gonna,
We got rid of the billboard.
what's going on?
It's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Okay, is it? I haven't noticed.
Oh,
it.
it's gone. Yeah.
All right.
We got rid of the billboard a while back.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had to get rid of that. That was that
Well,
was
I don't know
terrible.
how
That
you-
billboard was horrible. I mean,
Right.
that billboard had to go.
Okay, all right, so
They're
that's.
so hard to get rid of too. Let me tell you, that was a process.
Right?
Yeah, that was a real process to get rid of a billboard.
Yeah, no, it's great. Other than that, great project. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're excited to be here.
So, no other questions from anybody? Follow-ups? No? Okay. All right, so with that, then let's entertain a motion then.
Great.
Yeah, there's something Taylor had.
I know, I'm going back to that to see what I know Taylor included. Um, So I think I found it. Okay. Here we go.
He made it easy for us.
Do we have to list all of those? Oops, sorry.
That's fine. I think it's, the record's already clear in the items that you all want to see back on second reading. So we'll work with the development team to get that. If you just want to say as discussed or as presented, we can,
Okay, like the second one here where he has with conditions.
yeah, with the conditions
Okay.
and items discussed. Yep.
So I move to approve ordinance number 2026-05 with conditions on first reading, finding it compliant with the town's comprehensive plan and land development code, and schedule the ordinance for second reading and public hearing on September 9th, 2026.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Good deal. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you guys. Okay, so with that out of the way, we're on to our public forum tonight. You guys can, yeah, we'll let you guys go. Thanks.
Don't forget meatballs, spaghetti,
Macaroni and meatballs.
macaroni.
Yeah, there sort of was.
Man, I've been with the family.
So with that conclude, we'll open up to public forum, and it's anything that is not discussed tonight or on the agenda. Does anyone have anything you want to talk about or hear about? No? Okay. All right. A lot. Oh, yeah. Jeez, Ed, just in time.
See, there you go. You owe me $1.
Ed Kulikowski, 51 Vandermeer Street. Is there an update on our new proposed cell tower?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Cell tower? So I can get cell service at my house?
There is not an update. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think we've been focused on the budget
I know.
and yes, that is, trust me, it's something, Ed, that I ask about once every other week when I see Elise. So that will be soon. So yeah. Anyone else? Anything? Oh, yes, absolutely, Donna. You haven't been here in a while either, Donna.
Just a couple quick things. Who maintains the medians and that front area around Tractor Supply? It is absolutely horrible. Also, by that, I think what y'all are calling that boomerang area by Catherine Ross, there is a broken manhole cover there on one of the drainage things on the sidewalk, and now the sign is either fallen over. It's kind of dangerous because it's like half on the sidewalk and half off of the sidewalk. It's been broken. I've been walking now for several months, and it's been continually broken. And also, who, just so I can call and try to get it taken care of, because I don't think it's here, who maintains the mowing along the sidewalk from Catherine Ross all the way down to where the power sports place is, because it's super bad as well.
DOT.
So I need to call DOT about that.
You mow it once every 6 months, whether
Oh,
it's it or not.
or never. So, okay.
And you're right, all that along Highway 50, all the way down to the turnpike.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
As far as the entrance right there on Star at the tractor, I was asking Elise that too. We got to look into that and see whose that is, but thanks. Anyone else? Wow, that was 2 questions. No one else? Okay. All right, so we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to Elise.
All right, I'll try to be quick. Since the last town commission meeting, East Vic Avenue was paved and asphalt millings were placed on East and West Henshin, East Gully, East Hull Avenue, North Brock, North Cross, Winter Street, and South Arrington. So the only places that we still have remaining are places that we need to do additional work, such as drainage improvements or things like that. Or we're gonna wait for the septic to sewer to go in, and then we'll work on those areas. Everything else should be done. The artist opening on Thursday, August 13th for a new exhibit at the Arts and Heritage Center was well attended. I'd like to thank Mayor Taylor, Vice Mayor Satterfield, and Commissioner Keller for attending. The exhibit will be in place through October 30th and is definitely worth visiting. On August 19th, which was last week, Mayor Taylor and I attended the ribbon cutting for the Baby Place at Advent Health Winter Garden. So the Baby Place is now our closest labor and delivery facility, if you know anyone who's delivering. So that's pretty exciting for our younger
Shaking her head
people.
no in this room.
We will have a farmer's market this Thursday from 9 to 1. On September 1st, I'll be part of a District 1 property tax town hall panel. So if you still want to get educated on Amendment 3, there will be a town hall at West Orange High School cafeteria at 6:00 p.m. And we'll just be providing, the tax collector will be there, State Representative Spencer, Commissioner Nicole Wilson, the Winter Garden Town Manager, the Windermere Town Manager, and myself. Town offices will be closed on Monday, September 7th for Labor Day. And then just a reminder, I know Kathy's going to cover it as well. Our next commission meeting will be on Wednesday, September 9th. And that's because it's our tentative budget hearing that starts at 6, and our regular town commission will start at 7. And then we'll have a block party on Friday, September 18th from 5:30 to 8 in front of the Arts and Heritage Center. And Nature Fest is Saturday, September 26th from 9 to 1 at O&P.
Thank you. Kathy?
I have no report.
Oh, geez, I thought you were going to echo what she just said. She was thinking you would. It is a lot going on. It's getting cooler out. So yeah, it's almost sweater weather. Chief?
My report mirrors Kathy's report.
Great. Abby?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. Budget's looking good? Crunching the numbers?
Yep, it's prepped and ready to go.
Anything from our building department?
No, sir, no report. Just if you've been out by Brierley Farms, you can see all the work going on out there. It's keeping us hopping, but no report.
And you'll have a lot of work, this sounds like, coming up here soon. Maybe. Ashley?
I do have a report, and hopefully I can get through this. I want to acknowledge the fact that as we started another school year, that means we have another round of teachers that have returned with us. As such, we do have quite an extensive list of celebrating anniversaries this year, and I would like the opportunity to recognize them. So with 20 years of service this year, we are recognizing Melissa Keating, Margaret Young, Joanne Broughtley, Karen Kiefer, and Amanda Kohlmeister. At 14 years of service, we are celebrating at the school Andrea Winnock, but also we are celebrating Mike Parker as our capital projects coordinator with his 14 years as well. At 13 years with the school, Michelle Murphy. 10 years each at the school, Serena Bell Miller and Natalie Wessling. We have 8 years at the school, Lara Tonning. 7 years at the school, Cheryl Scherer, and with PD, Corporal Fisher. Make sure you check them out on Facebook. Quite funny. 6-year anniversaries here, all at the school, would include Nicole Purr, Ariana Delima, Wendy Perkins, Tiffany Williams, and Leah Berry. At 5 years at the school, Kathleen Tate, Amanda Hilton, Brenda Campbell, and Lori Harms. And then at PD, celebrating her 5 years, is Officer Nicole Hall. We also have 4 years here at the school, Ashley Berry, Karen House, Danielle Spano, and Leslie Mawartry, and Teresa Barone. 2 years celebrating Sharon Russo and Gerardo Campuzano, Amy Mellon, and Elaine Taylor East, and finally staying here for their 1-year anniversary at the school, we have Noel Digan and Nathan Balish, and then at ONP, our education coordinator, Stephanie Schmidt. So we sincerely appreciate all of our employees, especially those that are returning teachers and educators here at the school. Hopefully next year it's going to be an even longer list for us. And quickly, I just want to let you know I have completed all of the initial interviews for the Public Works Director. We are moving on to the second phase of those interviews, and then we taking place this week and next week as well. So we shall keep you posted on that as we move along.
Thanks, Ashley. Taylor, anything other than what we discussed?
Or other than that, we do have a couple of additional projects, hopefully nearing the finish line here. We have the 4th Street Village's first phase, the commercial portion, and for hopefully its final round of review of its final engineering plans. And we also hope to soon begin review on 302 East Oakland, the conversion of the residence to the doctor's office. That's going to be coming in for final engineering plan, hopefully here shortly. And nothing other than I did get to experience the new paved roads, and it was a very pleasant drive. So that's all I got.
Thanks. Did a good job tonight too, Taylor. Thank you. Commissioner Keller.
I have nothing.
Ditto.
I'm good.
All right, we said enough. All right, let's go.
Okay, good. All hearts and minds are satisfied. We are adjourned at 8:32. Did I get it right?